Welcome, young warrior.
Please, tell me something about the Convocation.
What we know of the Convocation comes from a runic text from the ruins of the Formers in Xu. The text describes the meeting of two heavenly bodies, Aonia's star and something the Formers called the Dark Brother. Aonia's star was covered over for a moment. When that happens, then Aonia's eye is blind and his power extinguished for the blink of an eye. At that moment, the spell that keeps the primeval elements of our world under control is also weakened. Now the text says that should someone succeed in awakening the primeval elements during this meeting, then he could cast a spell on them and acquire a level of power that would even set the gods a-tremble. The Circle mages discovered this old text in Xu and studied it, and somewhat later the foolish plan of invoking the Convocation began to ripen in their minds. In the course of time, however, the mages had a falling out. They thought only a single individual could acquire the power over the primeval elements. That's what brought about the War of the Convocation. Many generations worked on them, but the old texts were imprecise. And when the hour of the Convocation came, they invoked the primeval powers with all their magical skills, competing for the prize of great power. But nobody could muster enough strength, and the primeval elements got out of control. They arose from their slumbers, and their raging shattered the face of the world. Only in those places where the godstones of Ionia stood, the blue obelisks, was anything preserved from the might of the star god to protect us from annihilation. That was how the islands came about, but we would still have been condemned to destruction had Rohan Tahir not created the portals, and thus rejoined the lands of our world together.
This book.
By the gods, did you get this book from Rohan? What has become of him?
Rowan fell in the frost marches. It was my fault.
You were just a messenger, but now you are much more than that. That should be clear to you.
Is it true that this book contains the secrets of the Convocation?
Not only that, this book gives the reasons why the Convocation was doomed to failure. It explains what it really is, a deception. Not a secret of the Formers, but rather a false clue, a vengeance of the renegades, the dark gods, left behind as an evil lure by the Fial Dag in Xu. The Fial Dag knew that the primeval forces could not be tamed. Only Ionia is capable of that feat, and so they misguided the nations into invoking the powers at the right time and thus destroying themselves.
But the Dark Nations would have been destroyed as well.
Bear in mind that these rune tablets were made at a time when the Dark Ones were driven out of Xu and the renegades were banished from the world. Back then the Dark Ones stood on the brink of destruction anyway.
Where did you acquire so much knowledge about things that even the Circle did not know? Rowan got this book from you, didn't he?
I may know a great deal, but you must not know everything. Farewell. Welcome, young warrior.
Please, tell me something about the Circle.
At all times, the mages have brought about unrest to the world with their thirst for knowledge and power. The Circle was founded by an agreement of all nations to put an end to the intrigues of the magicians. The 13 most powerful mages of the nations, adherents of both light and darkness, joined the Circle. The Circle selected the city of Moulondir as its seat, independent of all governments. At first, the mages of the Circle discharged their tasks with earnestness and established peace and justice where hate and intrigue had once reigned supreme. But what was destined to happen did happen.
The mages realized how much power they had assembled?
Wisely stated. The Circle soon became a power base, a danger none of the nations was able to perceive because the mages worked in secret and over a vast number of devious courses. They deciphered the secret of all fire, which extended their lives and gave them power far beyond any known sorcery. For hundreds of years they guided the destiny of the realms out of their secret places.
How can a Circle mage be defeated if he knows how to use the power of the Allfire?
Only by another Circle mage, or a god. The thing that ultimately killed them was their own greed. When the Convocation failed, most of them were destroyed.
Most of them?
Well, Rohan Tahir survived. Who can guarantee that there aren't other Circle mages still alive?
The runes.
I understand. Your long sleep blurred many of your memories. The Rune warriors were once created by the Circle as a guard regiment. Magical creatures are powerful, but generally inexperienced. Experienced soldiers, on the other hand, are mortal, and of wavering loyalty. And so the Circle called you into being. It forged your souls, your life force, to the runes, and thus secured your loyalty. And all the things you experienced in endless wars remain preserved within you, a perfect weapon. And when the war came, we saw you in endless ranks, armies from nowhere, ravaging the country. Oh, how we hated you. You were the symbol of the power of the 13 great puppeteers. Well, I can understand why Rowan called one of you back. If anything can save the weakened Northern Realms, then it's the power of the Rune.
The Northern Realms.
We describe the countries in the northern section of Fiara as the Northern Realms. This primarily includes Northander, the former seat of the Empire. Today, Northander is more like a kind of loose confederation of the four surviving ruling houses. The realm of the High Mark, which lies to the south of the Darklands, has closed its borders. We don't know what's going on there. But there aren't just humans living in the Northern Realms. The dwarves have their two big cities, Windholm and Festholm, and all that remains of the elves is the settlement of the Eloni. Farther east, behind the Wildland Pass, is the Orc realm of Grook, which is ruled by the Orcs of the Sharok. South of there is the place where the Dark Elves live in their obsidian towers. They call their realm La.